Welcome to the Plant Food Federation channel, the place where plants and plates collide. I'm Afyong, a plant-based food explorer based out of the hustling and bustling city of Lagos, Nigeria. Now, if it's your first time stopping by this channel, you are welcome. If you have been here before, welcome back. In today's video, I'm going to be having a conversation about what is whole foods plant-based. I get a lot of questions from people asking me, what is it? Is it vegan? How do I get started on it? And why should I adopt a plant-based way of eating anyway? Well, I'm going to be having a conversation just about that. But before I get started, let's get some housekeeping out of the way. Below this screen, you will see the subscribe button. Go ahead and hit subscribe because you know you're going to want to stay connected to all the conversations and the recipes that are going to be shared here. And while you're down there hitting subscribe, go ahead and hit the notification button as well. That way you'll get notified every time a new video goes up. So back to today's conversation. Let's get into it. What is whole foods plant-based? Is it a diet? Do I need to be a vegan? Is it veganism? What is it? What can I eat? What can't I eat? These are some of the questions I get on a regular basis. What is whole foods plant-based? It basically is just that. It is eating foods that are as close to the natural state as possible, foods that are minimally processed, foods that are cooked in a way that the food retains its nutrients composition, or foods that are cooked in such a way to increase the nutrient availability and bioavailability of those nutrients in the food. That is whole foods plant-based. What is included in whole foods plant-based eating? It is fruits, vegetables, legumes, pulses, leafy greens, nuts, seeds. Basically anything that grew out of the ground or anything that dropped off of a tree that is edible is plant-based food. That is basically what it is. Plant-based way of eating, and I'm avoiding saying diet because when you say diet, so many sort of magical things come up in people's minds, especially the word restrictions and challenges. But a plant-based way of eating is basically trying to make sure that you consume, most of your diet consists of plant-based foods and ingredients. That's basically what it is at the core of it. Now, plant-based foods could be all the produce that you find in a grocery store plus more, but it could also be things that you could find on the shelf as well. Now, when it comes down to purchasing things that are in packets and cans and jars, my philosophy is for it to be whole foods plant-based, it needs to be a single ingredient, preferably, or 2 or 3, and they should be ingredients that you are able to identify. So you want to avoid anything that is you're taking off of a shelf that has a lot of ingredients in it that you can't really pronounce their names and there's no sort of common name for them. Or you just want to avoid those. Anything that has a lot of fillers or a lot of preservatives and a lot of additives, because plant-based has become a thing over the last couple of years, you will find a lot of things on the shelves that say they are plant-based, but they're not really they are plant-based, but they also have a lot of things in them that doesn't necessarily make them as healthy as they could be. So rule of thumb for me is always head to the produce aisle and knock yourself out there, and then get some other things such as your nuts, your pulses, your grains, get those, pick those off the shelf. But if you're picking things off the shelf, if it has one ingredient, a single ingredient, that's perfect. So that's basically whole foods plant-based. Now, is it veganism? The thing about whole foods plant-based is, you could be 40-60, you could be 80-20, you could be 100%. Now, 100% plant-based is essentially vegan because you're not consuming any animal products whatsoever. And somebody who is eating plant-based some of the time, maybe 40-60 or 80-20 in terms of plant-based 80% of the time and 20% of the time, not really. But the goal is always to move across the spectrum from being a conventional eater, eating, highly processed, high fat, high salt, high sugar foods, to eating foods that are more fresh and more natural at the other end of the spectrum, and then also at that end of the spectrum, cutting out the animal ingredients. Now, it is known that we as human beings can get all the nutrients that we need from plants. And plants contain all the nutrients that we can ever want. And so we really don't necessarily have to consume animal products, but I'm not going to get into that conversation here. I'm just here to encourage you to put more plants on your plate. Now, why would you want to adopt this sort of like whole foods, plant-based way of eating? Is it a thing? Well, you would want to adopt it. People adopt it for different reasons. The main reason a lot of people adopt a plant-based way of eating is for health reasons. It's to feel better. It's to manage their weight. It's to address some ailments that they have. Research has shown and continues to show that plant-based eating can reduce the impact of chronic, non-communicable chronic diseases. Okay, so things like diabetes, high blood pressure, a lot of heart conditions, a lot of cancers. There's research that shows that a plant-based diet can improve and in some cases actually reverse, apparently, the impact of these non-communicable chronic diseases that a lot of us are suffering from. And if you think about it, a lot of things that people suffer from today, including a lot of inflammation in the body, things like arthritis, and things like eczema, and asthma, it's reactions to the foods that we're eating. And it's because the foods that we're eating most of the time come in a packet or in a bag or in a can. They're not particularly fresh, or not fresh at all. Some of them have a shelf life of 3 years from now, which is amazing. And so we're not necessarily the healthiest that we could be, even though as a race, as a human race, we're more advanced. So whole foods, plant-based is really just taking us back to the basics of eating fresh foods, eating from the farm, eating from the ground, or at least eating from the produce aisle in your grocery store if you're nowhere close to a farm, because that's very much a possibility. So why adopt this way of eating? So again, for your health is one reason. The other reason is the animals, compassion for animals and animal welfare. Different people have different schools of thought on whether we as humans should be consuming animal products as food or not. And I'm not going to get into that argument, but I will say that this compassion for other beings that we share the earth with, and if we can get all the nutrients that we need from plants, then do we really need to kill animals and eat them? Like, what's the benefit for us? But again, there are many arguments about that. I'm not going to go into that, but I'm just giving you one of the other reasons why people adopt a plant-based lifestyle, and it's compassion for animals. I have 3 dogs and 2 cats. I just don't see myself killing animals anymore for food. Just don't see it. And the third reason is for the environment. So when it comes to the environment, it goes back to the animals as well. We are farming animals for food, but it's not necessarily a sustainable practice long term. It has a major impact on the environment. It's one of the major causes of greenhouse gases, of deforestation as well. And because we're suffering from climate change, and if you think about how the weather patterns are now as you are an adult today versus when you were younger, things have changed. Things are much less predictable when it comes to the weather and the environment and degradation. So again, to sustain us as human beings, we can't continue to farm food, grow plants to feed animals, to eat the animals. We need to focus more on getting more of those plants on our own plates and not so much on rearing animals for food. So those are 3 of the main reasons why people adopt a plant-based lifestyle. Let me know in the comments if you have other reasons that you may have adopted this lifestyle. If you have done so yourself, it'd be interesting to hear your thoughts as well. But that's basically what is whole foods plant-based and why you should go whole foods plant-based. It's quite a simple concept when you think about it, and if you take away the complexity of all the things that are in the media or on the news, you'll find it's really just doing what your mum told you to do when you were growing up, which was eat your vegetables. I do hope you found this conversation useful, and I also hope that I sparked your curiosity a little bit. Maybe you'll do some research on the impact of a whole foods plant-based diet on health and wellness, and or maybe even an impact on the environment, and maybe that will encourage you or inspire you to change what you put on your plate or be more conscious of what you put on your plate. If you like this video, definitely give me a thumbs up. Remember to subscribe, and let's keep the conversation going in the comments. Is the whole foods plant-based way of eating something that you are thinking of adopting? Have you adopted that whole foods plant-based lifestyle already, and you're already on the journey? What have some of your challenges been? Are you a vegan who wants to be a healthier vegan and is adopting a plant-based lifestyle? We'd love to hear your thoughts on that down below in the comments. And in the meantime, we can stay connected here on YouTube or across social media. You will mostly find me on Instagram, sometimes on Twitter, because I've just decided I can't be everywhere all the time. And regardless of what your eating philosophy may be, just remember that having more plants on your plate is a good thing to do. So until next time, bye.